America, that's who we want to be like. There's so much work to do. America, that's who we want to be like. There's so much work to do beyond ending the war. And the war needs to be ended. But we've got to reverse the damage, and America's got to be a force for good in the world. Yeah. At the core of this campaign, our movement, is a fight for the middle class, a fight for low-income families to give them a real chance to get into the middle class, a fight against these entrenched moneyed interests that are blocking what needs to be done. But I tell you, sometimes people say to me, this fight feels personal to you. It is very personal to me, just as it is for many of you. Nobody has to explain this to me. I watched my grandmother, who helped raise me, wonderful, wonderful woman. She had a 5th, 6th grade education, came from a family of sharecroppers, used to take care of me, leave the house, go work her shift in the mill, come back home and take care of us again. My parents, in many ways, she would have done anything for me. My parents, in many ways, did exactly the same thing. My father worked in the mill for 36 years. He went into that mill day after day after day, all so that I would have a chance. Your parents, your grandparents, did exactly the same thing. They worked, they struggled, they sacrificed, all so that the promise of America could be available to you, to your children, and your grandchildren. And I look at America today, and this is what I see. I see a country where last year, ExxonMobil made $40 billion. In 1 year, $40 billion, record profits. Where the CEO of one of the largest health insurance companies in America made $200 million in 1 year. $200 million. And then you take that picture of America and you put it side by side with this picture. Tonight, 47 million of our own people will go to bed knowing that if their child gets sick, they're going to have to go to the emergency room and beg for health care. Women, tomorrow, will be in the shower, will do a self-examination, and just like my wife Elizabeth, will find a lump and figure out that they have breast cancer. But some of these women, unlike Elizabeth, will have no health care coverage. Where are they supposed to go? You can't get chemotherapy in the emergency room. What are they supposed to do? While the CEO of a health insurance company makes $200 million? Tomorrow, and this is one of the great legacies of Dr. King, tomorrow, 37 million people will wake up literally worried about feeding and clothing their children in America, living in poverty, in the richest nation on the planet. I was in a shelter a few weeks ago. It was an amazing place. They took in single moms with their kids who had no place to live. And the extraordinary place, extraordinary people there. But I asked, I said, do you ever have to turn people away? And they said, actually, a few months ago, they turned 70, 75 families away in 1 month. And I said, were these mothers? Yes, with children, some of them as many as 3 or 4 children. I said, so when you send them away, where do they go? Back to the street, back to cars. Children living on the street and in cars in America, while ExxonMobil makes $40 billion. Last year, 35 million people in this country, which is roughly the population of California, went hungry. And the richest nation on the planet, 35 million going hungry. Tonight, 200,000 men and women who wore our uniform and served this country patriotically, veterans, will go to sleep under bridges and on grates. Enough is enough. We're better than this. It is time for us to stand up. It is time for us to And I'll say this to you. I said it earlier and I'll say it again. You know, this is an underdog movement campaign. It is. I am not the $100 million candidate. We've got 2 of those. I am not the candidate of glitz and glitter. And we need you as part of this movement because the power of conscience and ideas is overwhelming. We have an extraordinary opportunity to change this country. We do. But you've got to believe. You've got to believe in this struggle. You've got to believe in this movement. Because if you believe, you can join me in creating a tidal wave of change that sweeps across this country with a force of power that literally cannot be stopped. And when that tidal wave of change is over, here's what all of us will be able to do. We're going to be able to look our children and our grandchildren in the eye and say, we did for you exactly what our parents and grandparents did for us. We made certain that we left America better than we found it, and we gave you a better life than we had. God bless you all.